Hey everyone, welcome back. So for this deep dive, we're going to be looking into something a listener sent in, and it's called 7 Insights for Sensitive People to Find Happiness, which I think are pretty cool.
Yeah, sounds intriguing.
I thought so too. And it just seems so, perfect for what we do here,
Yeah,
trying to help everyone kind of find their way and use all the tools at their disposal.
right.
And I know that there's a lot of, especially these days, there's so much emphasis on like, the being tough and, kind of pushing through things. But I really like the fact that, this guide kind of flips that on its head and really tries to reposition sensitivity as a strength, not a weakness.
Yeah, absolutely. It's almost like reframing it,
Yeah.
instead of seeing it as something that needs to be fixed or something that you need to overcome, it's really about seeing it as a unique advantage that you can use to navigate the world.
Yeah, and kind of unlock all kinds of, new levels of understanding and things like that.
Yeah, for sure.
One of the first things that the guide talks about is, how sensitive people, they have this ability to understand emotions, and it's not just their own, it's other people's emotions too.
Exactly. And they understand them on a much deeper level, right?
Yeah.
So it's like it's not just a surface level understanding. They really
Mm.
get into the nuances and the complexities of human emotion.
And I feel like that could almost be like a superpower if you think about it that way, right?
Yeah.
Like, to be able to really see and understand what's going on with people.
Absolutely. And, that deep understanding, it translates into things like empathy and emotional intelligence, which are incredibly valuable, right, in all aspects of life.
Yeah.
So you think about it, sensitive people, they're probably really good at reading people,
Uh-huh.
building strong relationships, navigating complex social
Mhm.
situations. These are all huge assets.
Yeah, I would think that, especially in your career, that could be a huge advantage.
For sure. For sure.
But it's funny because I feel like so often sensitivity gets kind of a bad rap.
Right.
And I know for me, like I can think back to like, when I was younger and I felt like, I had to like toughen up.
Uh-huh.
Like I thought that sensitivity was something I had to like suppress to succeed or something. And it's funny because looking back on it now, it's just like, what a waste of energy that was,
Totally.
trying to like fit myself into this mold that
Yeah.
wasn't really meant for me.
And it's not only exhausting, right?
Yeah.
But it's counterproductive. And this is something that the guide really emphasizes, this idea of self-acceptance, right?
Right.
It's really a key takeaway from the guide,
Yeah.
that you are who you are and your sensitivity is a part of that. And instead of fighting it, what if we learn to embrace it, you know?
Yeah, I love that. I mean, it's almost like giving yourself permission to be who you are.
Yeah.
So we've talked about, accepting our sensitivity.
Mm-hmm.
But like how do we know?
Right.
How do we know what we need? And I feel like that's where the guide's advice about listening to our inner voice comes in, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's about tuning into that gut feeling, like that inner knowing.
Yeah.
That's your intuition talking. And, learning to trust that can be incredibly powerful, especially for sensitive people,
Uh-huh.
because they're already so in tune with their emotions.
And speaking of intuition, I mean, this kind of leads into the guy's emphasis on personal time,
Yeah.
especially for sensitive individuals.
Mm-hmm.
I have to admit, I am somebody who loves, a good amount of quiet time.
Right.
And sometimes I feel like, I'm being a hermit crab retreating into my shell or something. But I'm starting to realize like it's not about hiding from the world, is it?
No, not at all. It's about recharging, right? It's about strategic recharging.
Hmm.
And research actually shows that, for introverts, which many sensitive people are, solitude is essential. It
Yeah.
allows them to process their emotions, let their minds wander, and then come back to the world feeling refreshed and energized.
Yeah.
So it's almost like a pit stop.
Yeah, like a mental pit stop.
A mental pit stop. Exactly.
So, okay, so we're embracing our sensitivity. We're listening to our inner voice. We're taking time to recharge. And then the guide gets into this idea of self-love
Yeah.
and how important it is to prioritize self-care, but without the guilt.
Yes, and that's a big one,
That
right?
is a big one.
Especially, we live in a culture that often tells us to put others' needs before our own.
Yes.
And so we feel guilty
All the time.
for saying no, even when we're completely running on
Oh,
fumes.
tell me about it. It's
Why?
like, I should be able to do it all and be everything to everyone, but you're right. This guide really reminds us that it's not selfish to set boundaries
Mm.
and to prioritize our well-being.
It's essential, right?
It's essential. And I love that phrase, you can't pour from an empty cup.
Exactly.
And speaking of, empty cups and feeling drained and things like that, that's where the guide talks about recognizing the warning signs
Yeah.
of exhaustion. That feeling of just like irritability, like you just can't handle one more thing. It's
Yes.
like your inner voice is waving like a giant red flag at you, saying like, whoa, 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 slow down.
Absolutely. It's like your body's way of saying, hey, I need a break.
Yeah.
Pay attention to me. What are some of the other signs that you've kind of observed, in your work? Like, what are some of the things that you've seen?
Well, besides irritability, often there's increased fatigue,
Okay.
difficulty concentrating, feeling overwhelmed easily. These are all kind of signs that you're reaching your limit.
Yeah.
And the problem is, if we ignore these signs, it can lead to burnout.
Oh yeah, which is a whole other kind of, whole other thing. It's basically a state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion,
Wow.
caused by prolonged or excessive stress, and it can have serious consequences for our physical and mental health.
Right.
So learning to recognize those early warning signs is crucial.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's like,
Yeah.
once you hit burnout,
Yeah.
I mean, that's a much longer road back, right?
Yeah, it can be.
So, and this is where I think the guide takes a really, really interesting turn. It starts talking about sensitivity as a superpower,
Yeah. Hmm.
and it highlights these strengths like perceptiveness and creativity and deep understanding of others.
Yeah.
I mean, these are all incredible
They
qualities.
really are.
And think about it. I mean, those qualities are incredibly valuable in various fields,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
from the arts to counseling, teaching.
Hmm.
I mean, it's like it's not just about being sensitive. It's about how you leverage that sensitivity.
Exactly. Exactly. It's about using it to your advantage.
It is.
Mm.
And I love how we've kind of gone from, at the beginning, we were talking about sensitivity as this thing to fix. And I was like,
Right.
no, wait a minute. This is a superpower.
Yeah, right.
This allows you to experience the world like in a richer, more meaningful way.
Absolutely. And I think what I find so empowering about this guide is that it really encourages you to own your sensitivity.
Yeah.
Not just manage it, but to really see it as a source of strength and fulfillment.
And I love that. It's like recognizing, appreciating the gift that is your sensitivity.
Mm-hmm.
And that, with a little bit of self-awareness and self-compassion, that it can really be this amazing, asset in your life.
For sure. So, as you move forward, I would challenge you to really reflect on your own experiences with sensitivity.
Mhm.
How can you embrace it,
Yeah.
nurture it, and use it to create a life that feels truly authentic and fulfilling for you?
What a powerful thought to leave us with. So, on that note, I think we're going to wrap things up here. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the world of sensitivity.
Thanks for having me.
And we'll see you next time.
See you later.